The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
The following program contains mature content. Any opinions expressed are those solely of the host and any guests. Listener discretion strongly advised.
Well, welcome back, one and all, to another installment of Wyce Thoughts. Each episode of Wyce Thoughts gives you a little bit of a peek inside of my mind. We talk about current affairs, what's going on in my world, and what may be going on in yours as well. I'm so glad you dropped by for this episode of the podcast today. And hey, if you like what you hear, why don't you visit my website, wycethoughts.com. That's wycethoughts.com. Just make sure you spell my name right, W-Y-C-E. Coming up on this episode of Wyce Thoughts, we're going to talk about, at least what I've been observing as of late, is the lack of professionalism by businesses and employees of those businesses. And I'm going to tell you about a couple of streaming series that I've been watching, and so much more. So sit back and relax. Get yourself a spot around our virtual campfire, and get ready for some informative, fun talk on Wyce Thoughts. It's all coming up right after this. Hey, thanks for tuning in to the show. If you want to contact me, you can tweet at me on Twitter at Terry Wyce. You can also follow me on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Wyce Thoughts. And if you want to check out my YouTube channel, just search for Wyce Thoughts on YouTube. Now, let's get back to the show. Hey, everybody, welcome. Welcome to another episode of Wyce Thoughts. I am Terry Wyce, and I am so glad you're here and decided to join us today. And welcome one and all. I hope you are doing well, and I hope all is well with you and in your world, okay? So, lots to talk about here today. I want to jump right in here, but just a real quick thing, wycethoughts.com, the website, obviously. And also, I do have a voiceover website, so if you like the sound of my pipes, and you want to hire me for your project, you can go to Terry Wyce, W-Y-C-E, terrywyce.com. There you can listen to a sample. You can also find me on Fiverr. Just look for Terry Wyce on Fiverr. And maybe we can get together and work together, and I can bring my voice to your project, bring your dream to life, help you out in any way I can. Do all kinds of stuff, audiobooks. I can do a podcast intro for you, podcast stinger, a myriad of things I have. I can narrate your videos and all kinds of good things. And the best thing about it is I'm not happy until you're happy. Okay, so terrywyce.com, check that out. Again, if you want to tweet at me on Twitter, it's at Terry Wyce. And I also have a Facebook page, too, as well, that I just started for the voiceover type of stuff as well, facebook.com/Terry Wyce, so you can go look for that over there. All right, enough of me talking about me. Let's talk about you and what's going on in your world and some observations that I have had as of late. Summer is in full swing, so summer is moving right along here in the year 2023, and I don't know about where you happen to be listening from. However, if you're listening in the United States of America, boy, especially in the northern half of our country, the Canadian wildfires are really causing a major disruption here this past month. And again this week, I've had to stay indoors and not enjoy, some of the wonderful weather that we're having due to the simple fact that you walk outside and it's very unhealthy. It almost looks like some days it goes from looking like a fine mist, almost like, when it gets really humid outside and you that haze, to downright dense, like fog-like, and the smell of smoke. And boy, I limit my activity outside, just going from the car to drive here, drive there, and back. And I really feel for people who may have to work outside. I mean, there's a lot of outside activities that have been canceled here up in upstate New York, where I'm from whence the program cometh. But it's affecting everywhere. I mean, Wisconsin, all along the upper echelons of the United States. And it's just really odd that all those wildfires seem to originate at around the same time period. I've never really experienced anything quite like it in my lifetime. I'm not sure if you have as well, but it's just, I'm not trying to sound like a crackpot conspiracy theorist, but it just seems really odd that, I could see maybe one region of the country, but it almost looks like, someone went along and sprinkled all along, the Canadian country there, just from going from left to right, west to east, that, just dot, in transition, that all those wildfires are burning, and they really can't seem to get a handle on it, and it's just really odd. I don't know. It's just kind of goofy. But anyhow, so that's kind of put a crimp in the matter, and as far as enjoying the outside weather and taking advantage of the summer, because up here in the northeastern half of the United States, we get about maybe 3.5, 4 months of really good, solid summer weather where we can get out and do stuff. And now, over the past month, that's been limited by quite a number of days. I mean, this isn't a day or two where they say, hey, the air quality is kind of bad, stay inside. We're talking, 3-4 days in a row where they tell you don't exert yourself if you're sensitive to things, don't go outside, and things of that nature. And I really feel for the folks that have, asthma. I don't know if there's such thing as asthma, allergies, and things of that nature. I really can empathize with them. I have at times can have some allergy issues, but those with asthma and other respiratory ailments, I really feel for those individuals at this time of year, because especially with the allergies, but now you compound it on top of it with these wildfires that are burning, and good Lord knows what components and particles are being being fraught into the atmosphere. So hopefully, things won't continue in that realm for too long. Hopefully this will dissipate. So that's the hope. So hopefully in your part of the country you're safe, you're doing well, and you're not dealing with all of those things. So that's about that. But anyway, one of the other things I wanted to talk to you about today is we had over here at my home a couple of nights ago at around 2 a.m. Now, we didn't have any storms or any major wind or anything like that, but it was about 1:50 a.m., and I heard this big thud. Now, where I live is kind of a rural area, so sometimes you'll hear odd things, trucks going in and out or something like that. Or the occasional storm comes through, maybe a tree will fall. However, there really wasn't any wind to speak of, and there wasn't any storms coming through the area to speak of. And I heard that thud, and I didn't think anything of it. Just rolled over and went back to sleep. However, when I got up the next morning, what had happened was I came downstairs to get my morning cup of coffee, and my wife was already in her office that is on the back portion of our home. And she's like, honey, come in here. Look what happened overnight. And I'm like, hang on a second. Let me grab my coffee. And I went in there. And she says, look out the window. We have a large willow tree. Some call them a weeping willow, but a large willow tree that is in our backyard. in the back corner of our property out back, and almost like half of it just fell, and it's quite sizable, And so now I went out there and took a look at it, and evidently what the issue is that willows, for those of you who don't know anything about trees, and I admit I'm not an expert, but I looked at some stuff up. Willow trees, basically, they love to suck up the water out of the ground. They're a softwood tree, and they suck up a lot of the water out of the ground and that through their roots. And looking at this, because it cracked, it looks like it's rotting from the inside out. Now, you wouldn't know it looking at the outside of this tree. However, if you look at the inside where it had cracked and that, it's all like pulpy looking. It looks like, it almost looks like if you took sawdust, but damp sawdust, mind you, and, that's what's inside this tree. Well, we called a couple, I started making phone calls later that morning after 9 a.m., my local time, because we needed to get a tree service, because this thing is huge. I mean, the tree's about 50 to 60 foot high, if it's a foot. It's a rather large tree, which is still standing. And, that ain't going to be old Terry out there with a chainsaw. No, this is, it's still pretty heavy stuff, even if you cut it up, and you need professionals. So I started looking through, using the internet, Google, and local papers, little gazettes here that we have in town, trying to find tree services. And I started calling some of them. And what I was shocked to find is that a lot of these individuals, or businesses, as they say, or as they present themselves, don't have even a professional answering service and or voicemail message. If you can't reach them, a lot of people are using regular cell phones, and it'll just say the number you called is not able to get. If let's say, and I'm just going to throw a fictional name out there. This isn't and if you run something called Don's Tree Service, I'm not disparaging you. I'm just picking a name out of my mental hat here. But if you call someplace, let's say you're running Don's Tree Service, you would think if someone calls you and doesn't reach you, the answering machine message should be, even if you're using your cell phone, should be, "Hi, you've reached Don's Tree Service. Unfortunately, we're not able to get to your call at this moment. However, your call and your concern are very important to us. Please provide us with your name, a phone number, and the best time to reach you, and we'll be sure to get back to you just as quickly as you can. Thank you." Something like that. How simple is that, my friend? If you were to get that in a message from calling someplace which you perceive to be a business, even if you're a small business or a sole proprietor running that, what I got was the rings and then the generic AI voice, if you want to call it, or IVR voice from your cell phone company. I'm going to make up a fictitious number: 999-991-1919 is not available to take your call. Please leave a message at the tone. To me, that doesn't speak professionalism in any manner, even if you're just starting out. And so I was like, nope, moved on. The other fact was, and I've called half a dozen places, and not that I'm OCD on anything like that. I'm not one of these people that has to do 75 hours of research to do a 2-hour project. But I like to be, thorough to a point in researching when I'm going to do business with someone, because I'm going to be handing you our hard-earned money. And I want to make sure that you're the best fit for us and we're the best fit for you. But mostly in a selfish vein, that you're the best fit for us. And out of the half dozen that I contacted, 2 came out the initial day. And the first gentleman, he was nice, amicable, brought out a clipboard with, an estimate writer and everything, did an estimate. Very expensive, over almost $6,000 to do something that I thought should have been maybe a $2,000 to $3,000 job. He was quite expensive, but he was, again, very nice. And what's nice is he provided pictures on his cell phone while we were talking in the backyard, looking over there. He says, "Here's some of the work I've done." And I asked the questions: are you fully insured? et cetera. Because when anyone does work for you, especially on your home, you want to make sure they're fully insured in case they damage something on your home or hurt themselves. That's a must. So we went through that whole process. And he was nice, but he was very expensive. But I let him give us the quote, and we went from there. And I told him, thank you. We'll be, over the next 48 to 72 hours, we'd be making a decision. So he left. The second gentleman that came out didn't have something to give a quote. He did a verbal quote for me. And his I don't want to say excuse, but his reason for that was he had to switch trucks because there was a vehicle breakdown, etc. But he would, text/email me something forward. And we talked, and he told me about some of his experience. I asked him if he was insured. He said yes. And can you provide me with some references, etc.? Yes. And later that day, he sent the quote with, pictures of jobs he's done and clients, it's, a couple, three clients for references, etc. And has sent me his certificate of being insured. Great. One of the other ones, so there was, we had 3 scheduled for that day. One of the other ones that was supposed to come out, never heard from. And they said, they would be there this evening about 6 p.m. Well, 6 p.m. come and went. Never heard from them. Never got a message, a text message or an email or even a phone call. Hey, something came up. We can't make it. It was just one of those, what happened to these people? And I don't know about you, but I do not chase people, especially if I'm going to be giving you money and we set an appointment to meet for an estimate or a consultation or what have you. I'm going to be at possibly giving you my hard-earned money. So I feel I shouldn't have to chase you. You're in business. You want business. You have to earn it. You have to, there's that expression, you have to earn my business. And that's how I am. And I'm not trying to be difficult about it or in any way, shape, or form. Believe me, I'm one of the easiest people. Me and my wife are the easiest people to work with when you do business with us. It's just that we have a certain level of expectation, while we're very friendly. But there's certain levels in a business relationship, where goods or services or what have you are exchanged that we expect. And it just seems like a lot of things. And if you go back a few episodes, I think that the podcast episode may still be up when we were trying to find a roofing contractor, and then another one to do some indoor work over the past couple years here. Just going to find people to do the work and to come out, etc. It was I couldn't believe how hard a struggle it was, especially for our roofing. We wanted a whole new roof. I mean, I got $30,000 here. I'm willing to hand you, and I had to call at least 15 to 20 places, and out of those 15 to 20 places, if memory serves me right back then, only 6 or 7 of them responded, and out of them, only 3 or 4 came out. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, are you making that much money that you could throw away a chance to make $30,000? God bless you if you're that blessed. God bless you. But it's not only in the construction industry and and things, the services industry. I'm noticing have you gone to a supermarket lately or like to a Walmart? These self-checkout lines. My friends, when did we start working for these companies? Why should I have to bag my own groceries? Why should I have to check myself out from a retail store? I don't see the prices going down. Now, if they said, hey, if you use the self-checkout aisle, we're going to give you 10% off your order. When you go through here, we'll just knock 10% rate off. They're not doing that. I never, signed up, and I never got a paycheck. I didn't get a uniform. I don't work for Walmart. I don't work for Walgreens. I don't work for Kohl's. I don't work for any of the. Why should I check myself out? I've done my job. I've went and bought looked at the products, put them in my cart or my basket, my bag or what have you, brought them to the checkout lane. That's where one of your employees should be taking care of me, answering any questions I have and going from there. If I want self-checkout, I'll shop on the internet, and that's what you're driving a lot of people to do, businesses, listen up. By having these self-checkout lines, you're just driving people to go to the internet because if they can't get, it used to be an experience when you went to a grocery store. You walked around, you talked to the cashier up there at the front, what have you, and then maybe, you went and bought a lottery ticket or a couple extras in the goodie aisle or something. Same thing like at a Walmart or a Kohl's or, a True Value hardware store or Ace Hardware or something like that. There was some interaction there. Now these larger corporations are just trying to make it as cold and sterile as possible. It's almost like, give me your money and get the hell out. I mean, that's just kind of what it's coming down to. And I could see, and again, I could understand if there was some incentive and savings for me as the consumer, that if I check myself out through your self-checkout line, I'm going to save like 10% off or something. Hey, I'll do it. I'll do it all day long. Even the larger clubs like Sam's Club and BJ's Wholesale Outlet clubs, they have their own self-checkout lines too. Hello? I'm not saving any money, though, when I do that. And I think that's something that we, the consumers, might want to, start putting in these corporations' thought processes. You know what? You're putting us to work for you, but you're not lowering the prices anything. No, I want someone to wait on me. But anyhow, that's a topic I asked. I guess that's a thought for maybe a more expanded show at a future date. But it's not just there. Even the fast food restaurants, your chains like your Taco Bells and, KFC, Kentucky Fried Chickens, and McDonald's and Burger King now they've eliminated some of the workers that wait on you or what have you, because they want, you go in there and it's a digital menu. You just press click, 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 click. Well, I ain't saving any money on the menu. Have you looked at the price of a Big Mac lately? $7, $8, $9, depending on the part of the country of the U.S. you live in. A Whopper sandwich and that. They're up. I mean, hamburgers are at a fast food restaurant, mind you. Hamburgers are up where it's $8, $9 a piece. I think they're missing the idea of fast food and economical value. I digress. But that's just kind of some things I wanted to get off my chest, the lack of professionalism. And then if you're fortunate enough to actually deal with some people, you'll find, at least I have found over the past 6 months to a year or more, the employee or representative of the organization that actually is well-trained, seems happy to be employed and such, it's about a 50-50 split, because sometimes you get people that are just indifferent to you. It's like, yeah, what do you want? All right. And then you get the other 50%, and it never used to be like this, at least maybe in my recollection. Maybe I'm wrong. However, it never used to feel like this when I was dealing with people at a business, whether it's a grocery store or a chain or a coffee shop, what have you. There was always some sense of pride. Now, I don't know if this has been drummed out of the workforce by corporate greed and, corporatism, if I dare use that word, or if it's just a symptom of how our society has become kind of cold and distant, with all these electronics and staring at our phones and tablets all day, and that we've just lost that connection with people, and we don't know how to act or interact like we used to. I don't know. If you want to put it in the comments, please, by all means, if you go to wycethoughts.com, you can put it in the comment sections. If you listen on Spotify, there's a spot I know on Spotify to put comments in as well. But the best place to do it would be at my website at Wyce, W-Y-C-E, thoughts.com. There's a section under there for the comments under each episode that you can put some comments in. Or if you want to email me, just send mail at wycethoughts.com. Mail like your mailbox, M-A-I-L. Mail at wycethoughts.com. And let me know what you think. Do you believe that we're, customer service and professionalism in your job and in business is something that's degrading? Because I certainly feel it is. I certainly do. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to tell you about a series I was watching on Netflix, of all places, that, it stars a major motion picture star who now has kind of gone from the big screen to, well, depending on the size of the TV in some of our homes, not so much the small screen. But it's a great series on Netflix that has a lot of action and comedy, definitely made for adults. And we're going to talk about it right after this on Wyce Thoughts. Thanks for listening to Wyce Thoughts. Liking what you hear? Well, go to the website to find more. That's wycethoughts.com. wycethoughts.com. There you can listen to more episodes, comment on a show, check out the Twitter feed, and so much more. It's all waiting for you at my website at wycethoughts.com. And hey, do us a favor. Would you leave us a positive rating and review if you're enjoying the podcast? You can do it right at the website or on your favorite podcast provider. Now, let's get back to the show. Hey, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to Wyce Thoughts. I'm Terry Wyce. So glad you decided to drop by and join us for this episode of the podcast today. And in the first part of the podcast, we were talking about the Canadian wildfires here in the United States, and oh boy, and the impact it's having on people's ability to actually, go outside, enjoy the summer, enjoy the nice weather and things like that. And then we started talking about, just interacting with businesses as of late over the past, at least in my personal experience, over the past year or so, especially the past year. The lack of professionalism by businesses or people claiming to operate a business, or even the employees within that business. And, how I feel, in my humble opinion, that we're really losing that communication, that professionalism in business. And, we're kind of lowering our standards on what we're willing to accept as far as being a professional business, being a business, period. And we talked about things about, when you got to go to like a Walmart or a grocery store as of late, many of these corporations want us to become an employee for free, bagging our own groceries and, checking ourselves out and some things like that. So before we close out the podcast today, what I wanted to do, the last thing, I wanted to talk to you about, if you got Netflix, which is probably right now the most expensive streaming service out there. However, they've kind of been upping their game over the last 24 months or so, because otherwise, believe me and Mrs. W would not have it. But they've been upping their game with luring in some big Hollywood stars and some original programming for Netflix, and expanding their eclectic tastes a little bit. They got rid of some of the nonsense that was on there, and are bringing in more things that appeal to a wider audience and kind of diversifying what you can watch on there. And one of the series that me and the wife just completed watching, a limited run series that looks like they're possibly going to bring back for another season, and I hope they do. It stars a major motion picture action star. It stars a comedian and a few other people that were in motion pictures, as well as some newcomers. I'm talking about the series called FUBAR, F-U-B-A-R, and we know kind of what the acronym FUBAR stands for. I don't really want to, say, but it's called FUBAR. Now, it stars Arnold Schwarzenegger. Also, there's a comedian in it, a female comedian called Fortune. Her first name is Fortune. She goes by her stage name. She's in it as well as a couple other actors and actresses in it that have been in some minor roles in film, and a couple major and some newcomers. But the major draws are them. Now, if you know Arnold Schwarzenegger, quite a few years back in the early to mid 90s, he did a movie called True Lies with Jamie Lee Curtis, and Bill Paxton was in it, as well as a few others. Tom Arnold played a heck of a part in True Lies. And what it was is Arnold played a CIA or a special operative kind of CIA type of United States agent that went all over the world, fighting the bad guys and thwarting terrorists and things like that. But his wife and his family were unaware. So he was think of it almost like a Superman, secret identity, okay? And Tom Arnold was part of, he was kind of his handler and his partner, kind of, the guy in the van kind of thing. And he really shined in that movie. And before that movie, I was not a big Tom Arnold fan at all. I thought he was kind of a pinhead. But that movie really changed my mind. Just, it showed that he could do something and be funny and be likable. Believe it or not, he could be likable. and I quite enjoyed that. Jamie Lee Curtis was great in it. Bill Paxton was great in it. It was an action comedy, a little bit of romance, but mostly an action comedy kind of film. And FUBAR what FUBAR is on Netflix, the limited run series that they got going right now, that they have one full season up on, is if you took True Lies and you were going to make it into a series, that's the easiest way I know to describe it. Now, I know some of you are saying, yeah, Terry, they had True Lies already in a network series. Well, and in my opinion, it was a stinker. It's been canceled already, so it's not even going to have another season from what I hear. And good riddance to it, because I watched 2 episodes of it and said, stinks. I'm not watching any more of this and wasting my time. Life's too short to waste that time. So if you took the best parts and the best attributes of the movie True Lies and made it into a series, that's what FUBAR is on Netflix. Definitely not for the youngsters and the kiddos. There's lots of harsh language, sexual situation, lots of violence, and some gore, but it's an action-packed comedy that kind of takes what True Lies started and expands it a little bit more. Very good to watch as an adult. It's definitely adult entertainment, again, with the language and what have you as well, and all the things I just aforementioned. But it keeps you engaged, and it's just a fun romp. I would highly recommend it. It's definitely worth your time, especially if you enjoyed the movie True Lies and thought, man, I'd like to get some more of that type of entertainment. Check out FUBAR. I think you're really going to enjoy it. I'll even leave a link to the trailer for it in the podcast description here for you, and you can check it out. If you got Netflix, it's worth it. If you don't have Netflix, maybe it might be time to get Netflix. And I'm not sponsored by Netflix. I'm not shilling for them or anything like that. But, maybe your friend has Netflix and you can join on one of those guest accounts, things that they started doing for $8 or $9 a month or whatever it is. But it's definitely an action-packed series. It takes what True Lies was and puts it into a series and expands upon it and gives you more of what you would have loved from that movie. A lot of comedy in it. A lot of zingers, I call them, one-line zingers and stuff like that. A little bit of romance in it, and you generally root for the characters in it. The acting is really good in it. Arnold's Arnold. I mean, come on, Arnold still proves that he can be an action star at his age. I know he's got to be up in his 60s or so. And it's overall good stuff. So if you have a chance, check that out. And it's called FUBAR. And again, I'll leave a link in the podcast description of this episode for it, so you can go and watch a trailer for it and, decide for yourself if you want to check that out. And again, as always, if you have any questions, comments, or feedback about the podcast or any of the podcasts, or if you're interested in maybe obtaining my voiceover services, check out terrywyce.com. But that's about all today, and we're going to talk to you again real soon. Hey, thanks for listening to the program today. I truly appreciate each and every one of you out there. And remember, to see a change in the world, you have to be the change in the world you want to see. It all starts with you, the person looking back at you in the mirror every morning. Remember to be kind to yourself, be kind to others. If you want to tweet at me on Twitter, it's at Terry Wyce. Stop by the website, wycethoughts.com, just to make sure you spell my name right, W-Y-C-E, wycethoughts.com. And hey, leave us a positive rating and review on your favorite podcast provider, won't you? Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your pets about Wyce Thoughts. And I look forward to gathering yet again around the virtual campfire with you real soon. Take care.